you enjoying Grenada?
I'm always enjoying Grenada. Grenada is a perfect pill for me. I mean, if there was a prescription that I ever needed, it's Grenada. Grenada serves my need to be calm. It serves my need to be loved. It serves my need to be fed. It serves my need to be amongst people who are friendly. I don't need a lot. I just need a real cheap ticket to Grenada. I'm never fussy about how I get here. I just want to get here.
Wow. So that's what feeds your soul and your spirit.
And always, it has always fed I'm not a revisionist in any way, shape, or form. I've never felt Grenada was not perfect. I've never had to, I'm not changing how I feel. I've always felt that way. Even as a kid, I felt special here. My grandfather made Grenada a little bit of a paradise for us, like we lived up in the country in Birch Grove. And so there were big treats to St. George's all the time. He was a businessman and also dabbled a little bit in tourists in that regards as a part-time taxi guy, even though he had his own business, a very successful business, had a supermarket. And of course, back in the day, was shipping all kinds of products, particularly bananas, to the UK. He still loved just talking to people. And so on Thursdays, he would come down to the Carenage and he would be in the taxi line with his white shirt and his brown pants and would bring the tourists up to Granitan, and occasionally he'd drive down to Birch Grove to show them his own lands, nutmegs in his lands. And so I lived vicariously through his amazing stories about Grenada to these foreign people. And so I sometimes was a stowaway in his car, sat up front with him while he drove a couple, and he'd say, point that out for them, Yvette, So Grenada has always been special to me.
How have you seen it changing throughout the years? I know it's definitely such a gem. And of course, with more people finding out about the gem, have you seen an influence of the outside, so to speak, or North American way of being and living impacting or influencing what you're seeing now in Grenada?
Oh, absolutely. I felt like when I was growing up, the influence was primarily British, even though they're so much further, but because we were colonized by the British last, I feel like that was the very kind of British island. And if this island is influenced outside of its own influence, the closest one would be to the United States. I feel like starting in the 70s, 1970s, most people leaving Grenada were going to the US, as opposed to 1930s all the way to the 1960s. It was mostly a migration to the UK. So the influence is unbelievable. And I mean, let's talk about communications and media. You come to Grenada and you're getting television from Florida or North Carolina. It's American television. You're getting the news out of Miami. So, and of course the music, nothing will take away what we do here incredibly in soca and calypso and even a little bit of reggae. But there are huge pop influences here through the music, R&B. And that's because the world has gotten so much smaller with social media, the internet. And the young people here, to me, are influenced by American artists. And that permeates through the culture here. And I think it's perfectly okay, since so many Grenadians have second homes in the US. Even without all those other influences, I think they're influenced by their cousins in the US, their extended family in the US. Am I saying this is good or bad? I don't know. I sometimes feel that if you take the worst, it's never good, but I feel like it's a balance.
So are there particular pieces?
Go ahead.
Sorry, are there particular pieces or aspects of the Grenadian culture that's kind of exclusive to Grenada that you think really deserves an effort to try to preserve and to share with others without being impacted by others? So it's what basically the parts of Grenada that you would, if anything, brag about and export that value.
Let me just say that I don't tell everybody about Grenada, even though I tell everybody about Grenada, right? So like on my social media, I talk about Grenada all the time. I just started a new account about Grenada. But when I have my conversations to really get people to come to Grenada, I'm very choosy. I don't want everybody to come to Grenada. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, GTA. You know, I'm a tourist, I'm ambassador, but Grenada so special. I just feel that there are elements that could really tarnish it. And I know it sounds so bad. So there are pieces of Grenada that is so uniquely Grenadian. And yeah, there are kind people everywhere, but that old fashioned kindness, caring for your neighbors. I'm sure other people could say they do it, but nobody does it better than Grenadians. You know, Grenadians cook anticipating people coming over. I know COVID stopped that a lot, but we don't buy big pots because we have a lot of people in our family. We buy big pots because we want the whole country to come to our yard. We want our barbecue on the beach to have half the island there. That is something so uniquely special. And of course, job, you know, you can come and enjoy our job, but please don't try to take it.
So tell me about the jab. Tell me about the jab. For those who don't know about the jab, what's the jab?
So can I tell you something, Sophia? I make up these stories about jab. No one has told me that, but I have decided that in my head, I know there's got to be like a real history for jab, but in my head, I've decided that jab is indigenous to us. We created it. And I feel that it has something to do with slavery or certainly with indentured servitude. And I feel like what I know about slavery in America is that based on your skin color, if you were fair skinned, you were in the house.
Yes.
Right? And if you were dark skinned, you were in the field.
Yes.
To me, I'm not saying that's the meaning of jab, but to me, when I think of jab, I think about all African descent people coming together and painting their skin one color, saying, this is who we are. That is who we are. I think it's also turning certain fears that go back to sometimes religion and maybe even not just organized religion, but maybe Obia and all of that. I remember as a kid being afraid of the jab man with the big serpent around his neck. But in a way, I feel it's like taming the serpent, right? Mm-hmm. Taming it, making us one with the animals. But the color of the skin to me is something that is really saying, look at all of us. We are one people. Don't try to divide us based on our skin color. We are one. We're from Africa. We came here. You know, this is what we are. Now,
so how do we instill that? Because what you're talking about, and it's so very true, but we have been socialized into that, and the legacy of that part of slavery still lives with us, right? So we still talk about the good here, the bad here. So how do we consciously instill that particular value set in our young people, in our own communities, so that if it's coming from here, we are in charge and we can make sure those outside or the others that would try to tell us other will not succeed. And especially when you talk about the influence, for example, of mainstream media, the fact that this is coming inside from outside. If we are not strong and already grounded in a strong sense of self and who we are as a people, and a sense of pride coming from the motherland, and we will wear that proudly, then we are susceptible to the narrative that will be coming in subtle ways, and in sometimes, hitting you over the head to say, this is what beauty looks like. Yes. This is what, being pretty and good looks like. And then as human beings, we are subject to falling for or going with a narrative that's packaged very nicely. And then we start thinking, right? So how do we change that? How do we realistically, and not just to talk, because we can talk it right and say, this is what it should be. But at the end of the day, we know that inside there are many who, when we look in the mirror, we're not seeing beauty that's truly intrinsic about what's defined for us. So what do we do about that in realistic terms?
Well, we have to stop listening to the false narratives, and that sounds so big and broad. But I think we have to create 3 pillars. It starts at home, the community, and in school. And the same narratives got to be, your mama and your daddy got to tell you you're beautiful. And not just because of your look. They got to tell you that your insides are beautiful. They got to wake up the way when I grew up in Birch Grove, my grandmother used to say, good morning, doo-doo. Oh, girl, how you doing? I mean, we have to tell the voice that our children hear that is elevating, celebrating, has to be our voice, so that they can combat the negative narratives that come their way. Miss Tina Knowles, who is Beyonce's mom, said to me one day, have you bought little diamond earrings for your daughters? I said, no, they're too young for that. She said, girls like shiny things, and they're attracted to shiny things. And so if the first shiny thing that is dangled in front of them is from some man who wants other than an amazing love from them, that can end up really badly. But if the first shiny thing that attracts them comes from a place of love from you and your husband, they say, what you bringing that for me for? My daddy already gave me that. Let's come with real conversation. And it was such a, I love that. Because it was such a simple thing. And I mean, all I did was go to the store and buy a little chip. But it was such a suggestion about starting at home and saying, you're beautiful, you're worthy, And if the community says that to you, if your mom says, good morning, beautiful, and you walk down the street and Miss Smith say, good morning, gorgeous girl, and you enter the school and they say, you are a brilliant mind. You are worthy. And it's not about what you look like. It's not what texture hair you have. It's really, they see your soul. They see your soul. They see your worth. When I was growing up in Grenada, I must have been about 12 years old when I passed, maybe 11 or 12 when I passed common entrance. And the only place I wanted to go to school was St. Joseph's Convent. My mother had gone to St. Joseph's Convent in St. George's. And I was like, well, I don't want to really go to St. George's. I love Mama and Papa so much. I want to be close. I want to go to St. Joseph's Grenville. And my distinct memory is of my aunt, my very fair-skinned aunt, begging the nun to get me in the school. She didn't have to prove that I was smart. I was very smart. And I can't help thinking it's because I had this amazing, beautiful, natural tan that it was a little problem, even though I was extremely smart and extremely curious. I got into school and I only spent 2 years in the school because at 14, I came to the United States. In those 2 years, I was fulfilled with everything I thought that school will give me. Sports, academia, religion, a sense of purpose, a little bit of tennis, a little bit of netball. Felt so good about it. But in that archive of memories that you hold, every once in a while, something triggers it. a racist encounter in America triggers it. Like, whoa, even when I was 11 or 12 years old, I was fighting to be seen because of my skin color. And then I prayed on it. And I said, I just want to get back to SJC. I just want to get back. Took me years to get back there. And when I did, it was worth it. To not only have a whole presentation made for me, the little girl that I, but to encounter girls with skin like mine, with hair like mine, not this wig, the real hair. And to sit with them and talk to them, and then to go back days later and create a scholarship so that girls get into that school because they're worthy, regardless of what they look like, regardless of the family name, regardless of, as my grandmother used to say, what rank you from.
Yeah. So tell me about it, and congratulations. And it's fantastic when people give back, when you give of yourself in that way, when you remember that journey and what would have made it even better, and say, I will pay this forward and I'll make a difference for others. And so you're certainly doing that with your presence, money, fantastic resource to make things happen. Speak to me a bit about the conversation that would have had to have taken place, or if it was already transitioning into that place of the mindset that would have had the school having particular behaviors. Was it written in a particular way where they excluded, or is it that subtle way that we know racism rears its head, where I don't need to say it, but my actions will say it for myself? What is in the school right now that would ensure what you just spoke about, that they will not be judging by the color, the shade, but rather by the content? What does the administrative and the policy piece look like in the school? Is there anything there that would state it, or where would that change really come from?
I really think that the nun that I encountered, and I for some reason her name escapes me, but I think she was just from the old school. She was as dark as I am too, but she just she fell into that trap of the
yes,
beautiful, that she
yes.
work, right? When I returned to SJC, the principal is an amazing woman, an amazing Black Grenadian woman. She doesn't have those hang-ups. She doesn't have those hang-ups. She looks at the girls' worth. She looks at what they bring to the table, their eagerness to learn. There are fair-skinned girls, there are dark-skinned girls, there are big girls, there are tall girls, there are short girls. It doesn't matter. First of all, you have to do well on common entrance. I think they may call it something different now, to even get into school.
Yes, yeah.
So
it's a different spirit system.
It's just amazing to see that change. And I mean, is it 100% change? I'm sure not. It takes centennials, for people's attitude to change. It takes a lot of burial ground to bury the old way of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're making progress. And I feel celebrated and I feel honored when I come to Grenada. And I pray that there's no little girl that looks like me that feels like an other in this beautiful, beautiful island. I hope every little girl, the ones that still look like the indigenous Caribs, the ones that look like the Africans that came here, the ones that look like the Indians, the ones now that look like the Asians. I hope every single person that's on this island feels not just physically beautiful, but they need to feel worthy. They need to feel incredible about their contribution. They need to be proud of their heritage. And I feel that there's this momentum of we are Grenadians. That's the thing. We are Grenadians. And my God, this is not about politics, but congratulations to you know, the whole administration for seeing the gem that Grenada is during this pandemic and doing everything they can to protect lives and save lives and mitigate this horrible, horrible virus. I mean, I came to Grenada after I was fully vaccinated, but there were times during the pandemic that I wanted to come to Grenada, and the rules did not allow me to come
Allowed
to
to
Grenada.
do that. Yes.
I was living in the New York, New Jersey area, and we were going, it was terrible there, you know? So the fact that they protected this island, you know, 100 and what, 15, 20,000 people on the 3 islands, we can't afford to have a breakout. We can't. And it's nice that, oh my God, the rules here are so good. You walk into a store, they take your temperature, you have to sanitize, you have to sign a ledger, name, address, phone number, obviously for that's contact tracing. Grenada is doing a great job, and let's remove the politics of who the administration is and just be like, wow, 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 they're doing a great job. We just need more people to get vaccinated. So
yeah, no, that's fantastic, because we definitely know, you know, yeah, politics is in everything. And we know the politics of COVID globally, where the most marginalized have been the ones who have suffered the most, you know. Absolutely. And definitely we were looking at particular countries that don't have the same access to resources and so on. And it has taken even that much more ingenuity and leadership, you know, navigation in order to steer their, you know, people through this time. So hats off, you know, to being able to do that well. So tell me, I know.
Hats off to this island. Yeah. Jab, jab, hats off with the horns. Yeah. This island.
Tell me, listen, I know there are a lot of festivals and celebrations in Grenada. I know you love your music. And so what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite festival or celebration from Grenada?
You know, I love Carnival. I love Carnival, of course. I mean, I love going to the shows that lead up to Carnival and all of that. But I got to tell you, I'm a little country girl from Birch Grove, and I used to love going to Harvest. And they don't really, I don't see it as much. I mean, Whit Monday is this coming Monday, and sometimes they bring that back in certain neighborhoods, certain villages. So I'm hoping that that's still there, where all the people come, and there's ice cream here, there's like this here, there's produce there. I used to love that, because to me, that was such a sense of community. It was tied to the churches. I loved that, love it, but nothing could beat Spice Mass. What? Nothing could beat.
So tell me about, for those who don't know, for those of us who are not there, tell me about Spice Mass. What is Spice Mass?
Well, when I was growing up, it was just Carnival Monday and Tuesday. Right. But Spice Mass is trademarked now, because obviously Grenada's original bit of a moniker was Isles of Spice, you know, and because we everything here, everything from cinnamon, nutmegs, mace, whatever. And Spice Mass is supposed to be 3 days, but it's probably like a month. A month. And it is Carnival to the 100 degree, while there are villages that have their own sort of celebration, Guave being one of the prominent ones. The 2 big kind of coming together is in St. George's and in Grenville, Rainbow City, as we call Grenville. And they start the Rainbow City week, basically. They've got all these activities. And then obviously we have Soca Monarch and all of that, and Panorama and all of that stuff going on. But the end of it is Monday and Tuesday, basically Sunday night into Monday morning with Juve, Market Hill. Oh my gosh, the job coming down Market Hill with the shell, you know, and it's that distinct. The jab got that distinct kind of sound. I mean, it's just it's indigenous to Grenada. The sound is just, if you hear it and you're Grenadian, it's like yes, you know. But
you gotta move. You gotta move. Okay.
You got to move, you know. There's pre-mass, obviously, and then there's the traditional of Jab Jab. And now, of course, Jab Jab is always dark, 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 dark. They used to do it tar. Now they're doing it with kind of oil. But I've seen red Jab Jab. I've seen yellow Jab Jab. I've seen blue Jab Jab. You could keep that. You could keep that. My explanation for what Jab Jab is, I need the dark, 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 dark Jab, right? But then we have other things too. We have Shotney, and I mean, it's just beautiful. And everything if you associate Carnival to Brazil or Trinidad, you need to experience it Spice Master.
Grenadian, all right, yes. Grenadian style.
Along the road with the best food. And you could be jumping up in a band with the wildest person, and the next day after Carnival, like Wednesday, that was actually your doctor. That was actually your doctor, or that was actually your teacher. It's all is forgiven. All is forgiven. And obviously Carnival used to be tied to Catholicism because it used to come just before Ash Wednesday, leading into the 40 days before Lent. And now our independence is in February. So Carnival is actually in August, and it kind of goes along the Caribbean calendar of Carnival. It comes close to Carnival in Antigua. And so I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know, I'm not certain if Carriacou keeps it in February. I'm not sure about that, but I know Trinidad does. But you got to come when it comes back. I don't think it's this year. I don't know. No one has told me that. But I think 2022 we might be ready to go, especially if people get the vaccine. But
that's right.
If you don't in your lifetime experience Spice Mass in Grenada, you're missing out.
You're missing out. Okay. Yeah. So we need to mark the calendar for 2022.
August 2022, you probably need to be here in Grenada. You might want to start coming in July so you can get a hotel room, and you may want to start booking it as soon as they announce it's coming back, probably in December of 2020.
Okay, because it will be the place to be. So so get in line early. Get in line early.
And and the other thing about Grenada to me is, after the independence, the flag changed. Like most places, when they get independence, they change the flag. I really believe that our flag is the prettiest in the Caribbean and probably in the world. And I'm always so proud when I see the nutmeg on the flag, because the nutmeg, the bananas, the cocoa were the resources that sent me to school. Every single time I see a nutmeg, I think of my grandfather. I think of this businessman who also toiled the soil, who did not have a formal education, but made sure that his grandchildren did, made sure obviously that his children did, and Grenada is.
It's, and I can feel your passion for it, and I'm curious to know, because you talk about your grandfather and basically what your family, what they've instilled in you. How do you carry that forward into the next generation? I mean, you have children, for example, and I know oftentimes, we go abroad and we have that drive, we have the values that were instilled in us, and we know we're carrying it on because the way was paid for us. There are those who literally sacrifice so that we could take it to the next level. What do you suggest as far as parenting is concerned, mentoring is concerned, for the next generation, who sometimes it can be argued that they don't necessarily have the same drive based on the need that was there for us? There was a need and you had to continue, and there was a want. By the time our kids come around, we've provided them in a very different way. We've been able to give them what perhaps we did not get. We were making the landing that much easier. How do you pass on and instill that sense of you need to carry the baton from here and do even more, hold your own there? How do you do that? Because I look at you and I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it, and you go back and you're saying, yes, we got to do this. We got to do this. how do we get that into the next generation for them to have the same, yes, a sense of purpose and responsibility to, we got to come strong and make this happen?
Well, I'm pretty sure that in my house, the Grenadian culture rules. My husband is of Czechoslovakian descent, and yeah, my kids know some Czech, and they know some Czech foods, but they know Grenada. It started with us coming here as a couple, bringing the children here as kids, having them. We never left them in Grenada the way people used to, like they send the kids home for summer. We never did that. I really always wanted to be a hands-on parent. I'm trying not to cry. Because my mom left when must have been maybe, I don't know, 9 or 10. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I was even younger. And she didn't leave because she didn't love us. She left because she was mentally ill and she needed help in America. And so even though we had so much love and so much help, from her parents and her sisters, her brothers, her cousins, our whole community in Birch Grove, I just wanted my mommy, and I never wanted my children to not have their mommy. So I thought about it long and hard whether or not to leave them in Grenada. I just couldn't do it. As much as I love Grenada, I just couldn't do it. So I decided to bring Grenada home. And Grenada is home. Grenada is in the cupboard. Grenada is on the walls. Grenada is in the books. It's in, like, everything I need them to know is in my house. And we come often, and I have 3 children and 1 granddaughter, and I'm certain that 2 of my children will end up living in Grenada. And my granddaughter is so in love with Grenada. Literally today I was shopping for pendants for them because they're always trying to steal mine. So Grenada. And my Czechoslovakian husband got this made for me. That's a nutmeg.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, and at the back of it,
with you always, you've got it there.
It's just, he says, I love you, but he knows how much I love the, But to answer your question without falling apart, my kids are biracial children, and they've got that duality thing going on. And I knew that they would be Black children. They're my children. They came from me. They'll be Black children. I also knew that they were not Black American children. They were American because they were born there, but they were Black Grenadian children in my eyes that happened to be born in America. And they would have gotten the American culture anyhow, as soon as they entered school and all of that. So I needed to prepare them for that duality, and not so much the duality of Black and white, because truly biracial, you're Black. If one of the the society will tell you you're Black, right? So
yes,
it's like, hello kids, you're Black, you're Grenadian, right? Because the American part is, you don't have to talk about it. You're born in America, you're in American schools. And so it was real conversations. There are some things that you don't sit and point at your kids. You just like live and you hope they learn, but not the Grenada part. I was like, you're going to be Grenadian, And
so did that look like? What when you say Grenada, tell me what is that something that is so Grenadian?
It was the music in the house. It was winding down to the ground, It was getting in the car from our home in New Jersey and driving to Brooklyn, where the Caribbean culture is just really pulsating. It was going to aunts and uncles. It was bringing my mom into our home when, I had to, I pledged to my mom I would take care of her. Having my mom in the house was really great. My mom had that Caribbean Grenada accent from birth to the time she died. It was them hearing it. It was about sitting down and telling them the stories, because they didn't get to meet my grandparents. They got to meet the aunts and the uncles and stuff. But by the time they came, the grandparents were already dead. But guess what? There were older relatives that they got to meet, and they spent time with them in New York. My aunt, who is really my cousin, her and my mom were two sisters' children, but she was always my aunt. She was the true teacher. She sat them down. She taught them things. We had meals. It wasn't about spaghetti and meatballs in my house. It was like saltfish. We're having a true Grenadian meal today. Now my kids are like, Mommy, when are you going to Brooklyn to get saltfish?
So, tell me, what is the importance of that in shaping your kids? Why did that matter? Because there's some who would say, you know what, yeah, tell them about it, so they're proud of all of the different pieces that make them who they are. Why did you feel it was important that in particular they were grounded in this part of their heritage and could identify themselves as being Grenadian as well?
Legacy. If you don't know where you're from, you will not know where you're going. To know where you're from informs the next step that you will make and it was very important to me that my children understood and loved every part of who they are. Just because I was injecting their veins with Grenada culture, we still drove 6 hours to Czech, Pennsylvania, like Ford City, Pennsylvania, which was a very Czech populated. And so they can spend time with my husband's mom, so they can learn that part of them. Because so many of us ask questions when we're adults, like, why do I like that? Why don't I like that? Who am I? I wanted to give them as much information as possible. I didn't want to leave this earth and my kids wonder about why I'm that way, why I'm the way I am. It was very important for them to know that Grenada is a very important part of who I am and how I operate in personal and in business. I learned to be a businesswoman from my grandfather's shop. So all of those things I needed to pass on to them. I didn't need them to find it in a dusty drawer. I needed to make it very active. I needed for them to be completely immersed in it. And if they rejected, they rejected, but I would have done my part, because I truly, listen, it makes me so happy to tell you that my grandparents on my dad's sides were true Africans. It makes me so proud to tell you that my grandmother was an indigenous Carib. Like, I'm all of those things. So when I look in the mirror, I say, where did these cheekbones come from? I know where they come from. I know where my temperament comes from. I know not to push myself too much because mental illness runs in our family. Where did that come from? Maybe it was years ago feeling rejected because it comes from the Carib side. Not being appreciated. Now we're like, ooh, the indigenous Caribs, but for a while they were these Caribs. Oh gosh, It's all about learning your heritage, adding to the legacy, and informing yourself on who you are, whose you are, where you come from, and where you're going. If you know who you are, when you walk into a room, you've already owned the room. You've already owned the room. I walk into every room as Yvette Noel Shore, Grenadian, the daughter of Dennis and Carmel Noel from Grenada. They came from people from Grenada. They came from people from Grenada. We are generations of Grenadians. Oh, people are like,
I love
people
it.
are like,
And thank you for bringing up the mental health piece of this. And I really want to take a minute and talk about that, because we know the stigma that's attached to mental health. across the board. That is not, exclusive to any particular race or gender, but I know that in particular, when we look at Black communities, that we have an even harder time saying it, accepting it and saying, okay, I'm going to put it out there and deal with it. Talk to me a bit about what mental health, the role it has played in your life. You mentioned your mom and what, how it impacted you. Talk to me a bit about how that has helped to shape who you are and how you feel about what needs to be happening today.
Well, it took me a minute to talk about it. It was my little secret in high school, running from school, not participating in any kind of sports or any kind of extracurricular activities, because my mother was my extracurricular activity. I had to take care of her. I had to go visit her at Kings County Hospital G building, which is the mental ward. And I did that for pretty much the 4 years of my high school, because my mom's episodes didn't last 2 days. They sometimes lasted 2 months and sometimes 2 years. And, when I came, when I noticed that my mom was sick after she came back from the US to visit, I was still quite young. And I just took notes that, it's not her fault, and let me try to figure this out. And then I noticed that my grandfather's brother, my granduncle, kind of exhibited the same thing. So I started taking notes. Okay, this could be something that's in our family. And then when I finally got to America at 14 and I saw my mother's first episode, I made a promise to her that I will take care of you until you die. I will try.
Can I ask what aspect of the mental illness she had? What is it?
Well, I mean, it took a while to be diagnosed. She was misdiagnosed for a long time, but at the very end of it, the diagnosis was bipolar behavior. And, my mother was on the spectrum, more of down than up. So she wasn't maniacal in any way. She would go inner and become very depressed and very silent. There were few times that she was maniacal, and it was basically just walking up and down. That's usually the sign that she's getting sick. She wouldn't sleep for like a whole night. She would just walk up and down for 6-8 hours, but she never became violent or anything like that. So I knew I knew that could not have been what they thought it was. They thought it was schizophrenia. I didn't know what schizophrenia was, but I loved the dictionary. So I looked it up and I was like, nope, that's not what it is. And so, before I was 18 years old, I was already going to see social workers and talking about my mother, or when they told me to sit in the waiting room, I would beg to come in, because I also knew that the accent got in the way. They treated you badly based on the accent. And I would cry to get in. I said, don't talk to my mom that way. So I became her advocate. And then my husband, who I met when I was 17 and still love him like breadfruit and mangoes.
That's a lot of love.
A lot of love. He's so damn lucky. Damn, he's lucky. But he helped me. Like he just loved my mother. He loved her. She loved him. And the balance that, if I was traveling, because obviously my work takes me, before the pandemic, took me all around the world. He would always be there for my mom, go visit her, sneak some food in there that, we probably should not have brought in, in becoming my mother's advocate, I became an ally to anyone that was dealing with mental illness. So I ran into a lot of young people in my high school, ran into people in college that I recognized the signs, like, the pressure of studying and stuff like that. So I would pull them aside and talk to them. I mean, I wasn't qualified, but I would say, my mom is sick. And because of that, in school, I started talking about it. Because to be authentic to the person I wanted to help, I had to share my story. And it all came to a head when I was invited to come back after my 25th anniversary after high school graduation to be the keynote speaker. And they wanted a speech on my success in the music business. And I turned my speech into why I ran from school every day. Here is my story.
Wow.
Why I managed to get great grades, but I could not socialize as much as I wanted to. Her name, Yvette Noel. She was my first child, and she was also my mother. That was my speech. And I have a bullhorn on that, a bullhorn. I will scream it out. We have to take the stigma away. We have to silence the shame. A friend of mine created an organization called Silence the Shame, so people could just stop
Shaming.
blaming people,
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
shaming
Yes.
people for being mentally sick. You know, we're all this close to it. We were all this close to being mentally sick, dealing in this pandemic.
COVID,
So
absolutely.
alone,
Absolutely.
you know, being alone was very difficult for a lot of people. Even the ones who ran from their families and wanted to be alone were like, oh, I want to come back.
Go back. That's right. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
We have to talk about
depression.
it.
Depression. And that's the thing too, because oftentimes people don't even know the signs and what to look for. Like you mentioned, you know, bipolar. I know I'm from Jamaica, and I know a lot of times people talk about somebody being so sometimes-ish, you know, so sometimes-ish, you know, your mood, etc. Not realizing, right?
Guess what? She is depressed. She is clinically depressed. Things are bothering her. She's not sometimes. We have to change the narrative. We have to choose different words so people could get help. And you know what it is? It's really, you know, I know we try to soften things up, and it's like mental wellness. There is mental wellness. Take care of the things that make you feel happy and share for joy, searching for joy. But there is mental illness. When you're unwell and you need help. So stop calling everything mental wellness, because when you are having an episode, you are not well. You're unwell. And we have to put the name on it so we can give the care they need.
Exactly. And it's okay and necessary for us to say that. In the same way I can tell you I've got diabetes or, you know, whatever other chronic illness, this is exactly the same. And so I think when you come forward and you're sharing that story, I think that makes a whole lot of difference. And also to look at other influencers, like I look at churches, right? People who are in positions of influence and power. What are you teaching? What are you saying on this topic, right? Because yes, I know, for example, oftentimes we hear pray. Well, along with the prayer goes some very practical things that need to be put in place for care. So can we start owning that and say we can't pray everything away? Or perhaps to think that the prayer is actually being answered when you're being provided with the resources to do something about it. Right?
Exactly. So. I went to a seminar in Dallas, I want to say, in Houston, I think, and I was very proud that it was faith-based, but they brought up a pastor who's also a psychologist.
Ooh,
and
nice.
First time I heard in a church people saying, "Pray, but you need help."
Yes, that's right.
And you should look her up. Her name is Dr. Anita Phillips, and she is a pioneer in the marriage of faith,
wonderful,
and psychology. Yeah.
Love
and
it.
I was so happy. I was like, oh wow, we're getting someplace slowly, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. No, that is awesome. And just learning what to recognize it and what we can do about it. The other piece of what you mentioned that I want to ask about, I mean, because you're in the States, and so we talk about the different intersectionalities of life with, you know, socioeconomic status, race, religion, etc. You're Black and you're a woman. Tell me about your experience in those two spaces, the intersectionality. Is there one that dominates the other? How do they come if they are as a package deal? What is your experience like with those two things walking side by side?
I can't separate them. I don't separate them, but I add one more thing. I'm a Grenadian Black woman.
What does that mean? What does that do? Adding in the Grenadian piece, is that another other for you? Or when people are thinking of you, what does the Grenadian piece do?
They cannot separate me from being a Grenadian woman. I just feel that I have a different lens on the world. I see the world through kindness. I see the world through allyship. I see the world through understanding that there is abundance in very little, and that happiness and joy is defined in different ways for people, and that success is not one road. That I believe that the farmer is as powerful as the recording artist, as the engineer. I think we all serve a purpose, and I don't believe I would have had this view if I wasn't born on this island. And all my years in America, 40 something years in America, when I wake up in the morning, the first view for me, the first thought for me is, it goes back to my childhood. It always goes back to my childhood, because I grew up in a house that was abundantly blessed, enough food to eat, enough bedrooms for people to sleep, enough space to play. I miss my mom, but the universe provided like 12 mothers and 12 dads and an entire community. I go back and thank people, 80-something-year-old people, almost in their 90s. I come back to go and visit them, sit in their veranda and thank them. I'm an other. It's a good other. And I'm an immigrant. I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
We're owning that.
I'm an immigrant now. I don't want you to think you can take advantage of me because I'm an immigrant. Mm-hmm. But all of the things that make me who I am, I'm going to wrap them all up. The Grenadian Black woman who is an immigrant in America, but travels the whole world, gets a different perspective, loves Indigenous culture, understands that everybody has a narrative, everybody can take up beautiful space in the world, and everybody has a right to joy, to happiness, and to all of the important things that we need to survive. Everybody has a right to healthy food, healthcare, education, and every child has a right to dream, not only big, because sometimes big means within your borders, but I want them to dream wide, to say that I can go out from where I am, come back with a different perspective, and just love where I'm from. So I can't, yes, I know about the sectionality. I appreciate it, but I could never choose being a woman over being a Black woman, or being a Black woman over being a Grenadian Black woman. It's awesome. So important. I walk through every door being that girl. My husband married that Grenadian Black girl. And he got a fierce woman now, honey. He got, he had some 17-year-old silly girl, and he's like, whoa, what did I sign up for?
Yeah. Now, what do you practice any meditation, mindfulness? How do you stay grounded in this?
My dad had a series of strokes around his 48th birthday. And it flashed back to what I was looking at in my mother's side of the family for the mental illness, my father's side, hypertension and all that. And so at 19 years old, I decided that wasn't going to be me. And so I took my health very seriously. I was already on the path of the mental health, right? But then I saw that I was born to mental health on one side, on the other. And I just decided that I'm going to eat properly. I'm going to eat from the soil. I'm going to exercise. So I used to swim all the time. And now it's tennis. I play a lot of tennis. I go into a place every single day that is just for me. I don't know if I can call it meditation because I don't think I'm there yet. I get really hyper after like 20 minutes, like, oh, okay, how much longer? So I'm getting there. I'm using Deepak Chopra. I'm trying to get there with the meditation, but I take it to the water. It's not always a beautiful Grand Anse Beach, but I take it to the water. A good shower, a good bath. I sing a lot. I'm the worst singer in the world, but hearing my voice cry out is a beautiful thing for me. I dance all the time. I'm the world's worst dancer, but in dancing, it frees my thoughts. My first words every single morning is not today, mental illness. You will not destroy me. I will finish my mother's dream. I will finish my mother's dream of being a beautiful, smart woman who wanted so much and was so cut off with all those episodes. She didn't have a chance to travel. She didn't have a chance. Every time she wanted to, she got an episode. Every single time. It was a happy time. When it was close to Christmas or Thanksgiving, or one of us had good news. I'm pregnant. I just got married. I have this, I have that. She could not enjoy that news. It frightened her. And so I'm going to be brave for her. I'm going to be brave for her. I'm going to dance with abandon. I'm going to sing even though I can't sing. And I'm going to elevate other people so they can feel the joy I'm always chasing. And when I walk into a room, I'm not going to size up another Black woman and put her down. I'm going to go across the room and say, you're beautiful. And I see you. I see you, sister. I see you. One time I bought a black dress to go to an event. And I searched everywhere for that dress. I have 1,000 black dresses. I did not need to buy another black dress. But I just felt for this event, I needed a dress. So I walked into a store in Los Angeles and I saw the dress and I bought the dress. And I walked into the event and there was another woman wearing the dress, the exact same dress. And I walked over to her. I was a publicist for the event. I walked over to her and I said, stay right here. And I got our photographer and I said, come. And I said, let's do this. Let's pose. I said, this is a good dress, huh? Because I'm so much older. Feel good that I'm wearing this dress. She said, and you look good in that dress. That's what I do. I'm not going to be the one that leaves the party and go change my clothes, honey. No, because there's room for all of us and there is room for all of us to wear the same dress. I'm just not that girl. My mother wasn't that girl. My mother never said anything bad about anybody, except when she was in an episode and she said her doctor was ugly. She had nothing but good things to say about people. And
what you just did, I love that because you reframed a situation, right? You went in and it's about how we see things. So you had a choice in what you were going to do. The thoughts that you said to yourself, you did not go to a place of, oh my gosh, why is she wearing this? I now need to go. Because what we think will certainly determine how we feel. How we feel is going to drive our actions. So I love the fact that you saw it and you framed it into a positive. And that drove your action. So what could have turned out to be a very negative experience turned out to be a very notable one that actually brought joy. And I'm sure to the other person who was there, you made it into a celebration of sorts, right? Two people with great taste. Look at us.
I was like, we've got great taste, girl. Look at us. This is awesome. And even my team, my staff that was working with me that night, they were like, who are you?
Love it.
From?
I love it.
You know, Sophia, I feel, and the pandemic tested me, I feel like we're all at the brink of falling apart. And we have a choice. If you have a chemical imbalance, you don't have a choice. But if you don't, you have a choice how you're going to react to things. And I always choose to walk out of something feeling joy. And I remember what my grandmother said to me years ago. When you walk into a room and there are people in that room, after you leave that room, every single one of them should be made better that you were there. They should say, oh, she left energy in this room, as opposed to, damn, she sucked the air out of this room.
Yeah.
So I'm the girl that brings energy and teach people that your narrative, that the best book you're ever going to read is your own story.
Ah, I love that. I absolutely love that. So that makes us very mindful as well of what we're writing, right? Because our actions.
That's right. And every day we're writing a chapter. Every day we're creating memories.
Love
I'm
it.
cognizant of that.
Thank you so much for this. I know you spoke about giving back, and if you could just tell me a bit about your charity work that it is that you're doing as well.
So for my professional work, I work very closely with Be Good, which is Beyonce's initiative to give back. And I'm the publicist for that. And I work with the most incredible woman named Ivy McGregor. And we go to, a bulk of the work is in Burundi, Africa. And we do maintaining and also creating new wells for people with water scarcity. So that's a professional side of me. The personal side of me is that I go around the world and I talk to young women to empower them through schools, through organizations. I've been to Guatemala. I've been to Guyana. I've been to New Zealand. I've been to London. That is what I do. In Grenada, with my husband, we've started the Yvette and David Shore Scholarship. And it is through SJC Grenville. I don't have an official scholarship at TAMCC, but I donate to TAMCC for 3 people every year. I certainly need to go and see them. In November, we're going to do a big donation to TAMCC. No, thank you. I have mangoes. Thank you so much. I know you're the same guy from yesterday. No, but I wasn't here yesterday. I just checked in today. Have a wonderful day. If I see you later, I'm going to get some mangoes from you. I'm going to be on the beach later. I don't know, but I'm planning to go. And if I'm not there, I'm coming on the beach tomorrow. Look at my face so you can see me tomorrow and I'll buy mangoes from you. You see me? Right there, that almond tree, mangoes tomorrow. Awesome. What's your name? Linda. That's my cousin's name, Linda. Have a beautiful day. Bless you.
Love that.
And goes from Linda tomorrow.
Oh, I could love that. No, I love that you're doing that in Grenada, because actually, Gemma, who you spoke with, Gemma is going to be having her scholarship. So she's actually using, so we're using the T's. It's a legacy project. So a part of it is actually working to bring out the stories and the legacy of people who we don't necessarily know their names, but they've committed their lives to doing so much. People like Gemma, who has, for over 50 years, has just been giving. So she now has her own line of teas, and she's going to be using the spices from Grenada. And through the subscription to those, will be able to provide scholarships to young people in Grenada, where she was born. And from the time she was 10, she used to have them on her veranda, and she was teaching because she went to the convent school as well. And she wanted to share her knowledge with those who weren't in a position to get. So she has been that person throughout her entire life, and she is here in Canada. She's in Montreal, and she's doing the Spice Island Festival, where her video is going to actually be featured to show this is what Spice Island creates. Look at our spice. She is going to be actually having a scholarship and to give back, because she loves Grenada, and that's what she does. She is also an ambassador, and she celebrates it and talks about it and lives the values very much like you live it. So I can say, you know what, this is not a coincidence. It's obviously a Grenadian thing when you talk about kindness and how the people are. It truly is embodied by those that you meet. But I appreciate that. And I wanted to get your thoughts on, do you feel that celebrities or people who have a platform also have a responsibility to use that voice, whether it's in politics or to make a difference? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that with that position comes responsibility, or is it, you know what, I do me, if I'm not entering into that realm, that's all right too? Where do you land on it?
I try never to tell people what to do and hope that the universe would lead them and their hearts to do the right thing. I don't think you have to become a celebrity to want to give back. I was taking cocoa, butter, saltfish from my grandfather's shop, and bringing it to the most needy in our village when I was 8 years old, because they needed it. I didn't have to wait to be a quote unquote celebrity publicist to feel the need to give back. If I had the dime, I will make do with 5 cents so that someone else could have 5 cents. So anybody who feels accomplished, whether they're a celebrity, whether they own 5 shops in Grenada, whoever you are, I think we have to be dependent on other human beings. We've learned that in this pandemic, right? We could save each other's lives, and we can also hurt each other. So I say, if you have a great big platform, find something that's dear to your heart. But I don't want to put pressure on people to do everything, because that's not the solution either. But and people shouldn't blame people for not doing it everywhere. If you're Haitian and you only want to give to Haiti, that's fine. It's okay. It's okay. I think everybody should do their part, but I think we put too much pressure on people. I think they should naturally come to the thing that matters the most to their heart. If it's about children, if it's about women, if it's about a particular country, if it's about education, if it's about, food scarcity, if it's about preventing young girls from trafficking, whatever it is, we will never run out of ways to give, and you don't have to be a millionaire or a billionaire to give. You don't. We all have a heart. Something must move us to say, there's somebody else that may need this more. And it's not also about money. The most valuable thing you can give to someone is your time. Taking them in and saying, I see you, sit right here with me, tell me your story. Oh, I can't do anything to help you, but I know this woman named Sophia Bishop, she probably could. Using our resources of friendship to put people in places where someone else could help them is also giving back.
I love that. I love that. What advice, before you wrap up, and you've been so generous with your time, thank you. What advice would you give to young people, especially today, with whatever challenges they might find themselves in, whatever difficulties? What advice would you give to them to just get them through so that they can be their best selves?
Make the loudest voices in your head be positive voices. Turn down the volume on negativity. The person that tells you you're not worth it, volume down, volume down. What happens is that we hear only the negatives. Turn your ears up so that you can hear the positive. And those are the people that's going to matter. But also choose your love language to yourself. Get up in the morning and say, I can, I will, it is done. Those 3 little lines I learned from my coach, my tennis coach right here in Grenada, Richie Hughes, a legend. I thought I was a confident person until he taught me those 3 things to say. Because if you're only listening to the noise of negativity, you're going to need to have your own mantra. So maybe it is not, I can, I will, it is done. Maybe it is, yeah. Or maybe it is, I got this. I got this. Listen to the loudest voice in your head and make it your own and make it positive.
Wow.
I do want to add one last thing for you to have for your piece. I have a very big birthday coming up in November. I'm coming back to Grenada to celebrate with friends and family. And this birthday, no gifts. I don't need another Gucci bag. I don't need another Fendi shoe. I don't even need another new wig. It's going to be a fundraiser for the children of Grenada, and it's going to be divided into education and protection. And that's what we're going to do. And if you don't want to donate $2, $20, $200, $2,000, $20,000. If you don't want to donate to the children of Grenada, please don't come to my party. Please party. We can party without you because we're job people and we got it like that.
So tell me, because I love this. So first of all, when and where? So it's in Grenada. Is it going to be by invitation? Are you on a beach and it's open up? What will it look like?
It's going to be by invitation. It's a 3-day jam. First day for family, second day family and friends, third day family, friends, colleagues, clients, that kind of stuff. First day, beautiful dinner. Second day, oil down on the beach. And the third day, a carnival themed jump up.
Okay.
November, yeah. And
November, you said? Did you say in November?
My birthday is November 18th, so everything starts the 18th, 19th, 20th. And then on the 21st, the plan is to have everybody come to a place for a big Grenada breakfast, brunch, and then sail to Hog Island. And next day, everybody's...
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, my goodness.
That's the plan. And make sure I work hard so I can put that money in. Going.
Tell me, but you mentioned education, which I mean, fantastic knowledge. You also mentioned protection. Tell me about that. When you say protection for the kids of Grenada, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think there are things we don't talk about in the Caribbean, and I'm worried. I'm worried about sexual predators. I'm worried about all of that, and I want to make sure there is money put away for the children who are vulnerable to those kinds of abuses, to have a place to go and have the money is still going to end up being education, because what happens when you're traumatized, sometimes societies knock you out and you can't move on, you can't have education, you can't move on. So I want to make sure that those traumatized kids also have the money for their education. They may not need it right now, but they'll need it later. And if they don't need it for the education, they're certainly going to need it for the psychological care.
Wow. Can I ask, what inspired that? And I love that you're actually thinking of the place where most people don't go, because it is a great need. And oftentimes you don't talk about that. I know earlier in my career when I used to counsel incest survivors, and I had so many people who said to me, well, that doesn't happen in our community, meaning the Black, that's not a Black thing. And it's like, that's a people. It has nothing to do with our race, our culture. But again, it was a silence, right? We didn't want to talk about it. So there was no place for someone to go to say, this was my experience. So I love that you're actually calling it out and saying, listen, this does happen and we're going to be doing something about that. But what inspired it in your case? What made you even think of doing that?
What triggered it is that, I've had conversations with a few grown Grenadian women, and after just sitting down, whether it was at the beach or a restaurant, those conversations went a different way, and they went back to childhood and started remembering, unspoken about abuses that happened to them. And I kept thinking, oh my God, these things happen everywhere. And it goes unchecked. And what really triggered me to think about putting aside some money for that is that when the pandemic started, I thought about all of the young children that use school as an escape. And now they were stuck in the house with their abuse. And I was like, oh my God, this could be happening in America, in the Caribbean, in Europe. Oh, these children. Oh, because I know that, I don't know. I created a house, a home that's just a safe space for my children to just be who they are. And I just, the thought of a child not having that kind of freedom, I was like, I have to do something. I'm not saying that the problem is widespread, but I'm going to tell you that I know for sure that something is happening somewhere and it's not being talked about. And if I can help one child, I will feel good.
No, that is awesome. And I mean, we're wrapping up here, but I would love to have another conversation with you about what we can do, because I know we're looking at using with the spices and the teas, and all of our teas come with messages on them. They come with motivational messages, and they also come with do our tea and talk. They come with prompts and journals and so on for people to be able to work through. So I would love to chat with you about what we can donate as well and what we can give, because you are you're larger than life. Very much your presence and who you are and how you give of yourself, your spirit, your heart. And I feel that. And I mean, as on your Instagram, it was just so uplifting. I mean, it was honestly like getting therapy, just watching you dance, listening to what you had to say, the impact that you had. And I was sharing it with people saying, listen to this, listen to what she had to say, because just your words and your way of being. And I think if that can be packaged in a variety of ways to reach far and beyond, even when you're not physically present, or for those who don't have access to the internet to see and hear you, if they can open up a tea and still read those words, if they could look at a picture, I think that will be a piece of their therapy in helping them to heal, in helping them to smile, in helping them to get through this another day. So I would love to work with you somehow.
I would love that. I would so love that. And you saw what I said about the donations. We're taking everything from $2 to $20,000, literally, because I just think people always feel that they don't have enough to give. But if everybody gives $2, guess what?
No, it's very true. And it adds up, right? I remember my grandmother growing up, because my grandmother raised me as well. So I have a very soft spot for our elders. But I remember she always said, you give a percentage of what you've gotten. You don't wait till you have this much, because there are people say, well, when I have, $10, I'll get. No, if you have even one, you give a percentage of that, right?
I'm just gonna put the charge on so that don't lose you. Okay, here we go. Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but that's
because you
that's
don't
the idea.
you don't have to
don't
wait.
Don't wait till you have this much. Whatever you have now. And I mean, there's this funny story she used to tell about the man who was very, very poor, and he was talking about it, and all he had left was a banana. And he ate the banana, and he was just wondering, oh my gosh, because I don't have any, nobody was worse off. And he threw away the peel. And then as he was, walking away with that, someone went and picked up the peel, and that's what they were starting to eat.
Oh,
and Mama told me this story, and it always stayed with me, always. And so make sure whatever you give a percentage of, because no matter how you might think things are tough and you don't have, there's somebody who has even less, so you can make a difference in that person's life. So I love when you say, whatever you have, right?
Whatever you have, like literally on my invitation, where we don't even know how to start. We'll probably just do like a Cash App first, and then put it into an account, and then create something. Yeah. But like literally the invitation is going to say, nothing is too small to give. I will not be offended if you put $2 in my Cash App. Because if 10 people give that, it's going to add up, So,
exactly. Yeah. And it's a spirit of giving, because, with that, I can take it to a child. I could take it to my grandchildren and say, what do you have? Right. Exactly. And they might only have their little dollar, but the idea, and they're learning, and we're all understanding that we can all make a difference. We all have something we can give to make a difference in the life of others. Absolutely. So I love that you're approaching it that way, and that you've opened it up so everyone can be a giver. We all got something to give. I'm gonna make them feel
guilty if they don't give. Real guilty.
Pony up.
That's right.
I
love to stay in touch with you. I'm sending photos to Gemma because I think that they're gonna put me on the cover.
Yes.
So I have these amazing photos. I'm going to copy you on the photos. They are really beautiful. They were done here last week. They're so good. So this afternoon, I'm going to send them. I'm going through the selects now.
Awesome. And I'll be sharing the interview. So we're going to have that, and we'll definitely be talking about, what it is that you're doing across the board. But yeah, please, I'll send you my cell and so on. I think I had it in the invitation that I'd sent you.
Oh, perfect.
But I would love to just talk about what it is that you're doing and what we can put together. And it comes together nicely, because I think doing it in Grenada, for Grenada, and using the spices and the products from the country to then put back in and to give, and with your words and your image and so on. So a full motivation pack.
Fantastic.
Right? Spice and everything else. Let's make that happen. So I would like to say a heartfelt thank you for all that you are, all that you do, and for the generosity of spirit and sharing that gift with others, because words matter.
Words
matter. And your presence today and what you've been able to share with everyone. I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, I'm just thinking of the pieces of this. No, I am that. I do a lot of work with young people and marginalized people, and I'm just thinking of how many pieces, like the gems that you've given, that we can just say, hey, look, no, listen to this, and I could see the smiles, and I could just see it making such a difference. So thank you
so much. Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your time on the beach.
Thank you. I will.
And I look forward to seeing the pictures.
Yes, you'll see them. By tonight, you'll see them.
Perfect. And I will give you my info, and then we can set up whatever we need to set up. All right.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye for now.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. You as well. Bye-bye.